we're going to be talking about success, thinking for success. So, thinking for success. So in past classes we have talked about thinking and how our thoughts lead to feelings and then to action. So that's why we should always think positive, right? And thinking positive. Basically what it does is it sets us up for a better, successful life, right? So if we think negative, then obviously negative is going to come to us. Everything we think causes a reaction in our life. So I thought today, you know what I would do? Just elaborate on that a little bit more, the thinking aspect, and bring a little bit of the Bible into it, okay? Because there's one part of the Bible that I was reading last week, Matthew 6. Okay. So in the past class, I talk a lot about the mind, right? I believe that the mind is so much more an avenue to God than anything else. Yes, our heart has to be open to accept God and everything like that, but the mind is our vehicle to get closer to God. So that's what I talk about more than anything else. Okay, so have you guys ever heard this? Man cannot live on bread alone. Anyone ever hear that? In the Bible, Jesus often said that man cannot live on bread alone. I believe that he meant more than just eating bread, more than just food, right? He meant everything. Have you guys ever heard back in the day, I don't know, some of you guys are young, but when someone says, so you making that dough? You making that bread? And they mean money? Okay, so I believe that Jesus meant more than just bread. He meant clothing, he meant food, and he meant shelter. So man cannot just live on that alone. Man also has to live on good thoughts. Man has to live on respect and love for God. To make sure they have all that and to enter the kingdom of God, we have to be in connection with God, right? So in Matthew, okay, which we're going to be focusing on more today, Matthew 6, 30 to 33. So 30 says, wherefore, if God so clothes the grass of the field, which today and tomorrow is cast into the oven, shall he do not much more to clothe us, ye of little faith? Which means if God puts a lily out into the field and it grows, and then next week it's gone, the next season it's gone, and God puts so much energy and affection into the color of that flower, into the smell of that flower, the uniqueness of that flower, how much more will he do for each of us? So when we start worrying about, oh my gosh, where's our next cent coming from? Oh my gosh, how am I supposed to feed my children? Oh my gosh, where am I going to get this job from? When we start thinking about those things, we have to remember that we're having very little faith. I had a friend who was recently looking for a place. Fred. So can you just explain to them exactly what you went through with the whole bishop thing? And then just quickly, you don't have to get into it all. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but you were looking for a new place to live. You found one place, realized that it's not the best place, and take us from there.
It was not a healthy environment for me to be in, so I chose not to be there. And I asked for my check back, which I received back. And I was online on View It, and as I was looking at apartments, one just popped up. It was a brand new apartment, and things happen for a reason, I guess, and so I took it.
And he had to have a place by December 1st.
And this was 2 weeks, a week and a half before December 1st.
A week and a half, and all of a sudden he's online. And he put the deposit down for this other woman who was a bishop, okay, and you know, so in the church and everything, and she was renting out her place and everything. Not that she's bad, but the environment she was renting was not the best, right? So he goes to the place and he looks at it and he's like, I don't know if I could really stay here. So he had faith, knowing that he had to be moved by December 1st, he had faith to say, give me my check back. Instead of walking up in there and saying, okay, yeah, my heart's telling me don't go with it. But he had faith in God to say, you know what, I will find something and I need my check back. And he did find something way better, something way closer to the class. So, yeah, so you see, God comes at the last minute sometimes, right? So that's when that old saying says, God strikes when the iron is hot. Who's going to pick up an iron that's cold and is going to try to iron out their clothing, right? It's unheard of. You don't iron clothing out when it's cold. God knows right when the hot moment is. So even though we may be put in a position when we're like, oh my gosh, where are we going to get our food? We're starving, but yet we still have a little bit of food in the fridge. We're not starving yet. God will make sure that food comes when we're just taking that last nibble sometimes, wondering about the next meal. So we have to think more positive, and he'll do that even when we think negative sometimes. God will still bring it at the last minute, but how do you get it without worry? How do we get to a point where we're not waiting for the iron to be hot, and the iron is hot all the time? How do we get to that point? Through our thoughts. Again, through what we think and what we feel and how we act. That's what causes our whole entire outcome. So if we sit around and we're like, oh my God, we're not going to have food tomorrow. Well, chances are you're going to be down to your last nibble, right? God will still come in and give you something, right? But chances are you'll be down to your last nibble because you're not having faith. It's ye of little faith, right? When you have faith and you're like, you know what, we may have just a little bit left in that fridge, but I know God is going to come and give me what I need right at the right moment. He will come and give you what you need for the next month, never mind the next meal. Right? That's what God will do, right? You have to every day wake up in the morning and say to yourself, I have health. I have wealth. Even if you're going through something unhealthy, even if you don't have a cent in your pocket, I have wealth. I have friends, which we're going to be talking more next week. But in the summertime, if God does that for a flower, how much more will he do for us? And then it says, Matthew 6:31. Therefore, take no thought, saying, what will we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we have clothing? Because again, God will bring it at the last moment. My daughter, I told you guys the story last week about my daughter. Okay, she lives on her own now, so she has to pay her own bills, and finances are tough for her and everything like that. 23, right? It's got to be tough on your own, right? So she... Yeah, right, tough for 40, 50, everyone, right? So I told her I had a few clothes I wanted to give away and everything. And what was the thing she said? Mom, oh my gosh, it came at the right moment. I was thinking I need a new wardrobe because she lost a bunch of weight and everything. And she was like, I needed a new wardrobe. And just God gave it to me just like that. I gave her 3 bags of clothes, and they were good clothes, right? And she just took them and she loved them, and she put it all over Twitter. And she said, she was like, I wanted clothes for Christmas and look what I got, right? And she acted like they were all, most of them were brand new, but she was like, you know, really, really thankful because she recognized that it was something that she knew she was going to be getting, whether she had to buy them or not, but she knew that no matter what, God was going to clothe her, right? And then it says, Matthew chapter 6, verse 32, for your heavenly Father knows that you need these things. God knows that we need these things. God wants us to ask for them. God wants us to rely on him. He doesn't want us to sit back and say, okay, I got to get this and I got to get that. He wants us to know that we have to work towards it, definitely. But he also wants us to say, Father, you know what? And come in communion with him. Sit down with him. Talk to him. Reason with him like you would a friend. When you call up a friend and you're like, oh, I got to do this and I got to do that. You have to do the same thing with God, right? You lay down and you meditate in your bed or wherever it is you guys find your quiet place, whether it's at a Starbucks with a coffee and you're just doing some thinking or writing something out. For me, my quiet place is on my bed, right? And I don't necessarily get down on my hands and my knees and pray like that. I just lay on my bed, close my eyes, and I talk to Father, and I just say, okay, this is what needs to get done, right? And at that time is when you go into communion with God, you reason with God. And when you're getting your home in February, March.
I want to say good news. I finally got my first commission check yesterday.
Good stuff. Yes. Good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I know you're working towards that. Good. Yeah. See? And what did you do? You created that, right?
Yeah.
So all causation is a result of what we think. If you sat back and said, oh, how am I supposed to get these clients? Oh my gosh, I'm not going to get any clients. None would come in. But what you say is, yeah, I see a couple of clients coming in. I can get a few more and a few more. And you start thinking positive, and then that's what happens automatically, right? I know a woman, And I'm sure some of you guys know women like this, right? Okay, so she always says to me, Cerise, every man I meet uses me, lies to me, and leaves me, or leaves me, okay? And I said, don't think that, you know? And I said, why would you say that, right? So months after that, she met a guy, and she was a manager in the bank. I'm not gonna say which bank, but she was a manager in the bank, okay? And she met a guy who got with her, and he was like, she's the one that signs off on bank loans, right? And so she turns around and he says to her, he wasn't working at the time, and he says to her, well, I got a good business idea. If you can sign off on that bank loan, we can invest in the business, you can come in on the business with me, and we'll all have money, and then we'll pay back that bank loan and no one will know anything. So she said, all right. She gave him the bank loan. Exactly. How old are you again?
10.
10. 10, and she's even like, oh, why wasn't that girl saying that? She set herself up to be used, right, and abused, right? So then, obviously, he takes that money, he bought himself a car. She says, why did you need a car? And he said, what? Well, I need to get myself around to check for properties for this business. Sign off on another check.
Oh, no. No. She didn't do it again.
She did it again.
Oh.
Right? She
That's
did it
good business
again,
girls.
and she did it 4 more times. Okay? She did it to the point where he didn't even pay back the first one. And then now her credibility as a bank manager or whatever her name is now coming into question, because it's like, how come you're giving these loans out and people aren't paying them, right? And who are these people? Different names. And so not only that, he brought in some false ID. Her first question should have been, who are these people? Right? But she just signed off, he loves me, right? No, he just loves your job, right? And that's all that was about.
That's looking
So
for,
she,
sorry.
no, go ahead.
Here, give me
That's
this
what
girl.
it's all about.
Yeah. Open her mouth.
I'm in it. I love
She's looking for fulfillment from somebody else instead of looking within.
That's right.
I
That
need
is
to know where
right.
she works. I
So-
need a bank loan. Never mind.
She doesn't work there anymore
Yeah,
now.
of course not.
Right, and that's exactly what she was doing. Very good point. Looking for fulfillment from without instead of the kingdom of God within. The connection with God, the one with God, saying, God, you know what? This guy's asking me for a loan. The first time, okay, it's kind of like everyone gets kicked in the butt sometime, right? But second time, third time, fourth time, to the point where the second time, her bosses came in and started to question her, and she still went on 2 more times after that, right? So then
Did she
the
get
fourth,
fired?
yes, she got fired. She got fired. No package. EI turned her down as well.
Because she was fired.
Oh, really? Is that what happens?
If you get fired, you don't
Yeah,
get EI.
you get fired, you don't get.
You don't get EI.
Oh, and so this is a woman that went, huh?
It's your fault then you won't.
Wow.
No,
Okay.
if they fire you, they won't give you EI.
No, it depends
Wow.
on
That's
why.
your fault.
Depends on why.
If it's your fault then.
Yeah, if it's your fault, they're not gonna give
Okay,
you.
well, okay, so this woman went from making a good $80,000 a year
To welfare.
to having, to social assistance, that's right, to having to sell her condominium,
Oh,
give up her vehicle, everything. She lost everything. Every single thing you could imagine. She had no children. She wasn't married or anything of that nature, right? So, and that's what she was looking for, desperately, right? She wanted to get with this guy and hope, this was her answer. But what happened was, basically, he used her all up, right? And then I told her that was a result of her own ignorance, a result of what she thought was going to happen. She thought, I'm going to give him all this and he's going to come back. That's not true. Sometimes we think the weirdest things, but our heart is telling us something else. So we have to listen to that small voice, which we were talking about in class a few weeks ago. That little voice that says, don't do it. You have to listen to it. So this same woman, a few months later, after she broke up with him, she got involved with another guy, right? And she came to me and she was like, Cerise, I just feel like he's gonna leave me. This guy is just too good to be true. And I will admit, he did sound too good to be true, but I was like, maybe you're being blessed from what you went through, right? So let's just go with it. And so I started to really look into it, and session after session, I started to realize this guy really likes her. This guy is a really good guy, and he helped her out. He was helping her get back on her feet. He was working, as Angela's favorite saying is, a man with a job.
You don't have a job, you don't apply here. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
No.
But he could be working towards a job.
Still, that's not, it's not my problem anymore.
Okay, so what happened was she decided that, you know, this guy is accepting her, and she was going through a program through social assistance that was helping her get back up on her feet and everything, and they gave her this training and everything. He was there for her. He would pick her up at this training place and everything. So she started to come up with these excuses why he didn't want her. So now, when she's coming up with these excuses, she's now putting things, her thought, into feelings, into action, right? Instead of her thinking positive and thinking, okay, this is a good thing that God has put in my life, and thinking good about it, and putting that into feeling and that into action, she's thinking negative.
Self-sabotaging.
You got it. Say that again.
Self-sabotaging.
That's exactly what it was. She's sabotaging whatever she
Is
has.
this guy single?
Right?
Where's
This is,
this guy?
no, check this out now. Now, so this what happens. She turns out, and she starts coming in, and she starts saying all this, and I told her, just be careful of what you're saying, right? Be careful of what you're putting out to the universe, because when you start speaking that way, you start feeling that way, you start behaving that way, and the things that you're thinking are going to start making you act that way, and he's going to respond to you behaving negative, right? So you become a different person than who he met, and then he starts losing interest. So then what happens is she starts saying she's too fat, and she starts saying that she doesn't have enough education for him, and she was older than him as well, right? And she starts saying he's younger and he's going to go for a younger woman. So of course she starts saying this to him, right? I told her, don't say these things to him, even if you feel that there's evidence of it. Even if he's like looking at every young thing walking by that's so fit and everything. Don't even say it. Just feel it for a second if you have to, but just hold your tongue, tame it, bridle those thoughts and those feelings, right? Of course, she started to say it to him. Why are you looking at that girl? Right? Oh, you want a younger girl. Oh, yeah, you think fat women aren't attractive. Okay, and this is what she kept on saying to him, kept on saying to him. What did he do? He turned around, he had to leave her. He didn't want to be with her any longer because he couldn't be with somebody that was so insecure, somebody that was so hating on herself constantly. He turns around and he left her, okay? But she was on her feet by the time he left her. He helped her out, he set her up nice, right? About a couple of years later, I guess, she meets him. And when she sees him up in the mall, he's with a woman older than her and bigger than she was ever.
Wow.
And this one was happy. This one was jolly, right? Because he introduced her. He was like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" And he, you know, and he said, "This is so and so, my wife." He was married to this woman, and she was like, "Hi," and she told me, my client told me, that this woman was so happy, and I was like, "That's all he wanted." Was a happy woman. He didn't care about her age, her size, her income, her smarts. He was just a guy that had sense. He realized that happiness is where the heart is, and that's where the mind is. When a heart is happy, the mind is happy, and the mind is sane. Right? You got someone that's constantly thinking negative, constantly thinking poor, constantly, they're regressing to some kind of negativity, and they are digging a ditch for themselves instead of a bridge. Right? Anything that she was looking at as negative should have been something that could have made her stronger. So what? She's a little overweight. Start working out, start eating well, or be happy overweight, right? Use that as your bridge to get to a happier place. That is who you are at that moment. So what? You're on your butt, you got no job and everything, you made some questionable decisions with some other man. Use that as a strength. She couldn't do it. Right? Now, I see her every so often and everything like that, you know, and she's doing a little bit better, and she's doing much better with her thinking and everything. She watches my videos, as a matter of fact, on YouTube, and, you know, she seems like she's trying to get it together, but, you know, I gotta respect her, though, because she still emails the ex-boyfriend and everything, but she also talks to the wife and tries to get encouragement from the wife. And that wife encourages her. That wife is like, yeah, you know, don't worry about it. You'll find another good man like I got. And everything. And yeah, so, you know, when we defile ourselves, that is when we become unclean, right? Jesus, he often said, when we are dirty, it's not the things, like when Jesus and his disciples were eating, they came in from eating, they were eating and everything, and the priest came up to Jesus and said, why are your disciples and your men eating with unclean hands? They didn't even wash their hands and they're eating. And Jesus said, what? It is not what's on the outside that is dirty. It is what's on the inside that is dirty. That is what defiles us. Our thoughts, our feelings, our actions. And there's this little Jewish saying, I don't know if you guys ever heard it. It says, one's mirror is his outside. Does that make sense? One's mirror is his outside. Right, so what you encounter in life, that's your mirror, that's your inside. So what you are thinking is what you cause. And so if you're looking at something that you don't like, right, like that girl that we just spoke about, the man left her, she created that. That was the mirror of who she was, right? So the mirror on the what is on the outside of you is what's on the inside. That's what we bring forth. Does that make sense? Okay. So, and you know what? It is really possible to change. It is so possible. If you really want to bring change, if you really want to start experiencing life, you really want that love, that someone to come into your life, and you're feeling a little lonely, and you really want a relationship, like we hear Angela. I'm going to pick on Angela.
It's okay.
Because
I want a good man. Put that on YouTube. and a job.
Yes, but
and no baby mom. Oh.
But you make enough money, remember, to take care of a man that doesn't have a job and get him on his feet. No, Jesus looks up and says, what are you teaching this girl? Or Jesus like, yes, we need some more women like that up in her.
Yeah, but I've supported enough men. Now it's time for me to get support.
Yes, but remember too, the job sometimes, a man may not have a job, but he may have sense.
I like sense.
Right? So as long as he has sense and he's down, he will, you know, he will get a job, right? Eventually. So, you know, I had this woman call me the other day, and she said, just off the top of my head, she said to me that she met up with this other older woman, and this other older woman was teaching her. And I said, well, what is she teaching you? And she said, well, she told me that I need to get with a man that has a good car and a good job, and he should be making this much, that much. I said, well, what kind of car you got? And she's like, well, I don't really have a car right now. I said, oh, okay, and what kind of job you got? Well, you know, I'm just on the hustle right now, trying to get some money on the fly. Oh, really? Okay. Well, what are you're obviously going to get your mirror. What she's putting out there is she's putting expectations on everyone else instead of putting them on herself. Another thing she said was, what this older woman was teaching her too, is men without cars are men going nowhere. So it's not the materialistic things, right? Although your experience, I understand why you said that, because your experience is you want a man with a job so he doesn't rely on you, right?
No, I've supported a guy for 7 years, and it would have been nice to just get $100 for groceries. He didn't even have a job and grocery money, so.
No, she said he didn't even have grocery money. No, but I understand that, right? But now the position that you're in, don't use that as...
I don't, honestly, in my experience, and anybody that really knows me, and you know me, a job, I wouldn't say if I found somebody and he didn't have a job at that point, that wouldn't deter me from not dating. You just want someone that is going to actually be of sound mind.
Of sound mind, right. And that is the key.
I have one for her, but she doesn't want.
I know, but I don't just want
She's like, I've got one for you, girlfriend, you're not listening. Really? Well, let me tell you something. And another thing that I find too, men with vehicles, men that are paying, like they driving around his Lexus and BMW and everything, he's paying more money on that vehicle than he can invest in a good lifestyle, and also on gas, you know, and it's like, buddy, you should just go to the second-hand car dealership down the street, forget about payments every month. It's cheaper to just kind of go with the flow, and, you know, but overall, you know, if you really do want a positive lifestyle, if you really do want to live more positive, you have to think more positive, feel more positive. So you want that person to be close to you. You want to be in a relationship. You have to do more than just want it. You have to picture it. What do you want this person to be? Well, do you want them to be tall? Do you want them to be short? Do you want them to be flashy? Do you want them to be more quiet? Do you want them to be active, going out, take you out to movies and dinner? Or do you want them to sit at home with you with popcorn and pizza? I'm one of those people where I'm like, a client will come to me and she'll be like, or he'll be like, I just want someone to take me out, a female most times, to say, I just want him to take me out to dinner and the movies, right? And I'm like, well, then put that out there. For me, I don't want to necessarily go to the dinner and movies all the time. I want a man that can sit beside me and be quiet while I'm on my laptop. That's what I want. I'm doing work. You just make yourself busy. And that's the truth. I'm not even joking. That is the truth. I just want him to understand that I'm busy and I'm writing, and put whatever movie you want on. I'll hear it in the background, right? And don't complain if I fall asleep when the movie's on or something, right? I fall asleep to movies. Accept that, right? And that's all I want. So it depends on what you want, right? For me, I can date anyone if he is 90 years old or if he's my age. I find it difficult to date people younger than me just because I like a lot of conversation, right? But for me, the appearance doesn't even matter. He can be 400 pounds. Again, like I said last week, I can work on that, right? Like, baby, let's go to the gym. Like, I can work with certain things. Appearance isn't important. Some women, they want a muscle man. Whatever it is you want in a relationship, you write it down. You want that love, and you just say it as you're meditating. You want that money. If it's not love and it's money and it's success, that's what you focus on. Wealth, and you just say, God, this is what I want. And you start making a list and planning it. Anthony's always planning his money in the future, right? Because, the lottery, right? So I said to someone, he's like, you know what, that person just went down the list a notch. They're not getting
I love that. I love that.
But because he's a giver, he doesn't say, and I laugh at him because he doesn't say, oh,
the list.
right, he's off the list. He doesn't say that. He says, oh, they just went down a notch. Right? And he's still going to give to them even though they made him upset and everything, right? But God knows when someone can get upset and say that person's gone down a notch on my lottery list, that thought that they're getting the lottery, they're going to get something one day because they're putting it out there so strong because they believe it with their whole heart. They're convicted to getting that. So whether it's one of his business ideas that he's going to put into play, it'll make him those millions. No matter what, he's going to get those millions. And that will be like a lottery windfall, right? And knowing Anthony, God's going to make him work for it. Right? But Anthony's like, Cerise, I want the lottery.
I'm with you, Anthony.
But that's exactly what it is, right? It's what we believe, and it's going to come no matter what. Okay? But we can't have lip service. We have to be willing to realize there are going to be some adversaries, right? We're going to experience some pitfalls. We will. And those are the ones that make us stronger. But when we experience those pitfalls, what are we supposed to use? The fruit of the Spirit, right? Do you guys remember what they are? They're love, joy, peace, kindness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. I didn't mean that towards you. Self-control, huh? Courage, strength, fortitude, that's right, good girl. And so that's 8 of them so far. And did I say gentleness? Passion is something like,
Was it compassion?
Compassion, gentleness, that's right, compassion, good for you, God. Those are the fruits of the Spirit. So when we fall against something that's a pitfall, we have to use the fruit of the Spirit to get us out of them, right? So we can either use life as a bridge or use it as a ditch. When we fall in the ditch, we're not going anywhere, right? So when we follow God, we have to be willing that He is going to put us through some pitfalls. Those pitfalls are only so we can start expressing the gifts of the Spirit, right? The fruit of the Spirit, because that's what strengthens our character. Why go through a pitfall, right? I don't want to go through life unless I have to go through some pitfalls. Me, seriously. And when I'm around people, if I'm doing something, I want to be criticized afterwards because I want to know, and not constructive criticism, right? I want to be criticized. I want people to tell me what they think, right? I don't want people to come up to me and say, oh, you did so well, and I know I didn't. I want people to say, you did okay, but you could have did better here, here, and here. Because the next time I'm doing it, I'm going to keep that in mind. And that's going to strengthen me, right? And I use that as my bridge. And I don't use the criticism as my pitfall and say, oh, I didn't do good there. No, I'm not going to get back on that horse and ride it. No, I'm going to know when I get on that horse and I want it to giddy up, I'm going to kick it in its butt, right? And these are the things that we have to do, right, to move forward. Now, Isaiah 29:13 says, the Lord says, these people come near me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Their worship is made up and taught by man's rules. Right? So, yeah, you know, so it's like all these rituals, light a candle, pray by fire, or, you know, incense and all. We don't need all that hocus pocus to be close to God. We don't need to give him lip service and say, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, and that's our prayer and we go away. No, we have to talk to God. Sit down and reason with him. You know, hey, you know, this is what's going on right now, and this is what I think we can do to resolve this, and, you know, it's stuff like that. We have to give more than just lip service. We have to give him our everything, our heart, our every thought, our every feeling, our every action, right? We have to go out of our way to do things for others all the time, because we'll always get something. Look at my Michael Kors watch. I got a Michael Kors watch just because I did something nice for someone else, right? We will always be benefited. Maybe not right like that, a quick transfer just like that, right? But we might do something nice and all of a sudden it comes back in a totally different way when we were least expecting it, right? So, success. Think for success, right? Aaliyah? Aaliyah, that's a beautiful name. Do a lot of people ask you if you know about the singer? No? So you're an original then.
Some people don't really know about the singer.
Really? How old are you?
I'm 10.
You're 10? Ah, some people don't even know about her, eh? Isn't that something? And how many years ago did she die? 10?
I was 5 months pregnant.
Right. Wow.
So she's
because
gonna
she
be
died-
11. She died about 11 years ago.
We died August 25th,
Yeah.
2011, right?
Okay.
So we were
No.
pregnant at the same time.
Aaliyah, why some people don't ask, Aaliyah is Indian name, Pakistani name, ascending, beautiful. So when they do hear Aaliyah, they don't always associate it with the singer.
Cool. So you, when it comes to your singing, right, what you do is you put in your head, I am a singer. I am blessed with singing. I have a gift to sing. And then all of a sudden, every single time you have a chance to sing, you sing. Someone asks you to sing at church, and sometimes, because I used to like singing when I was a little girl, but I was shy, and some people, my mom would tell them, oh, Cerise could sing. And they'd be like, sing me a song. And I'd say, no. And I'd crawl under my mom's legs almost, right?
That's Aaliyah.
Right, yeah. Take that shyness and throw it away. Because it's only with practice that you are going to become who you're supposed to be. So then say, yeah, okay, I'm a little shy, but even if you're just like, back, forth and forth. That was an Aaliyah song, right? So you just do that, and people can hear it in your voice from when you even just sing one note that you can sing. People will hear it, but then, you don't have to sing a whole song, but then what that will do is give you more strength, more inner power, and the more you do that, the more you will build up. Okay? So that's what you want to do. Okay, so, yes. Bernice.
I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago, and the people that were there, when they were talking about themselves, that's how the people introduce themselves. Say, I'm Bernice and I'm a writer. So and so, and I'm this. And they describe themselves using their talents.
Right.
Because I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I do like a little craft stuff, you know. See, I'm doing it now, right?
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, no, I'm not at that level, right? And those are things that I want to be at, right?
Right.
But when they were talking, there was about 6 of them, and we were about 20 people, and the 6 of them introduced themselves as that, and I thought, with so much confidence, and I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, you can say, like, let's say crafts, right? So you say, You can say, you know, I'm Bernice and I'm an artist, right? But you don't need to have been selling any paintings or doing any crafts or selling anything. That is, if that's what you know you are blessed with, that's what you do, right? Like, I haven't had any books published yet, right? But I consider myself a writer, and I put it on my business card, even though I'm publishing newspapers and magazines and blogs. Still, my thing is, when I put writer on my card, I put it on with the mindset of books, right? So, you know, and I don't have any, like I said, published yet, any books published, right? But that's what you do, you put it out there, right? Even before I was on Flow, right, I went somewhere to this organization, and I had just put the proposal in at that point. And this guy asked me, he's like, oh, so where do you get your word of mouth out from? And I said, oh, I'm on the radio. And I didn't even get the answer back yet, right? But I said it, because I said it with power, that, and if Flo didn't have me on, I knew someone else was going to have me on.
To yourself.
That's right. And again, your outside is the mirror of your inside, right? Like right now, yes.
I've seen my son. My son is 20 years old. He has his own line of clothing already.
What's the clothing line?
Freshman clothing.
Freshman.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Nice.
you have your own line of clothing? He said, I don't want to work for nobody. By 25, I own my own business. So all the school children in Ajax is supporting him. So I'm like, where you getting the money from? He said, Mom, I am going to make it. So I went to clean up his room, and I saw he's reading his book, How to Get Rich Quick.
Oh.
I said, so you have more street sense than common sense now, right? He says street sense is how to go, but he's making it. Because he set his mind
That's right.
to go. So all the school kids can buy his clothing, you know. And I said, I'm just selling it a little bit too high. They will buy it, Mom, don't worry. I'm
No,
not
yeah.
doing my price.
Yeah, you set the bar high, because if you set the bar low, when you're ready to set it high, people will be like, oh, I'm not buying that. You used to have that low. You
So
could
he
yell
said,
down.
yeah,
She's
is
selling all kinds. Yeah. That's right.
He's doing really good.
That's right, set the bar high. Good for him.
Yeah.
And good for you for having a son that would be like, I'm gonna put you in a big house, right?
Yeah, he doesn't say
Yeah.
much, he doesn't talk much, but he said, I'm gonna put you in a big house, you and Khadijah. I'm like, I'll wait, no problem, I'm not rushing life.
See, that's beautiful. And that's exactly where they do it. And, you know, Zeta, back to you again. And your business, your wallet business and everything. That is going to lead off to other things. With your wallets, it's gonna go from wallets to purses to, you know, sleeves maybe. You can go to Starbucks and, you know, tell them that you want to be able to make sleeves for them out of your stuff. You know what I'm saying? You see, I can see your eyes now, right? Where you're like, right? And that's a true businesswoman, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, you're a millionaire by the time, you're like the guy from Google, right? Millionaire by the time you're an older teenager. You're only a teeny bopper right now, right? How do you do it is you think about what you want, how many sales you want to make, what designs you want to make, who you want to sell them to, women, men, teenagers, all of them. You want to sell it to Holt Renfrew, or do you want to sell it to Dollar Store? Holt Renfrew. Okay? Because I saw stuff from the Dollar Store at Holt Renfrew the other day, and I'm like, what? They're selling this for hundreds of dollars. And Dollar Store got it for $1, right? But you want to sell to Holt. Okay, so this is what you want to think of. You want to think of your future. You want to say, Shanice?
The guy who made Microsoft, he had, he was a millionaire.
Yeah. And he started from an idea of making software, right? And actually, when I was in Holt the other day, Holt Renfrew Cafe, we were talking about that guy, right? And how he started out and everything of that nature. So very interesting. Same thing with you adults here too. It's just a matter of becoming a mirror that you look at and you're like, that's what I want. Health, wealth, beauty, everything, beauty from within and out. That's what you want to put on there, because that's the only way success is going to come. And building from the pitfalls. Every time you fall in a ditch, climb back out of it and use it as your strength. Use everything as a bridge, no matter how difficult it may be. You keep going to church. Keep giving yourself to God 100%.
Because every time I stay away from church, I feel like my life is going down.
Yeah, because you're only relying on yourself. And then you become cold. When you're in the spirit, you become like hot. malted, oil and lava, and God can mold you, and he can send you here and send you there. But then when you're in the flesh, away from the spirit, right, the flesh dies. Cells come off every day. The flesh starts to die, and become cold, and then it just disappears and it's gone, right? But when you are in the spirit of God, you have him within you, and then you can be molded and you can flow everywhere. It doesn't die, right? So when you're in the spirit, you give something, you get it back. Even when you're in the flesh and you give something, it's most times in vain, right? You just considered a nice person, right? They'll be like, oh, they're nice, right? I mean, you'll get a little bit back, but you won't get it back tenfold, right? The only time you will get it back tenfold is if you are 100% with God. And I don't mean that's taking away enjoyment, right? Like, you can still go and enjoy yourself. You're a single woman, go on dates, but don't go date an alcoholic. Seriously, don't go date somebody that is defiling themselves, right? Because, I mean, I used to like to have a good drink, and I used to like to go out and go to the clubs and everything like that, and I just don't drink or smoke any longer, so I'm not putting down people that drink and smoke, not at all.
But
Right?
if
But
you end up,
just,
you don't know the person you end up, and then afterwards you realize who the person is, right? I'm like,
right.
why did God send this person in my life to be stressed?
Teach you something.
They're a mirror of what you put out there. So let's just meditate. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you and we thank you. We thank you so much, Father, for all your beauty and all your love. And we know that when we come to you and we put you 100%, we always get 100% back. We know, Father, that with you all things are possible. And when we think you and we feel you and we act within what you want us to act within, everything always comes back to our benefit. When we are desiring what you want for us, then we get everything we desire. We know that we have to delight ourselves in your service. And we ask that you guide us. And anytime we step off that path, anytime we step out of your walk, we ask you, Father, put us right back to what you want. If you have to smack us up and sit us down, we give you permission to do that, because sometimes we need to be straightened out. Father, we ask you to continue blessing our family and our friends. We ask you to keep us straight, keep our minds straight, and keep us the way you want us to be. We ask these things in your sweet name. And we ask for success, because we think success, we feel success, and we will act success. Amen.
Amen.